There were a bunch of. I'm just going to be on my phone. I don't have my external mic, so hopefully it sounds well enough. There were a bunch of cases that came up, and I think Bradley Manning was one, and whatever that guy was, WikiLeaks, on how all that worked. And again, it came up under Trump's administration. I know there was a Korean guy or something like that, a bunch of different stuff. So the idea is this: if we were to say that you had absolute immunity and nobody could do anything, it's just too easy for it to be spying. Because what would Russia do? Russia, just even if they don't want state secrets, if they seek to harm the United States, they would put journalists into power that they knew would do this thing, would tell somebody to steal a state secret. There's various ways to pay people without, and I've identified some of those without it even being known. Even you may owe your entire journalist career to Russian spies. We don't know at this point, and even you don't know. They may have taught you something that was underhanded that they wanted in journalism, and set you in a mode, and they can manipulate you, whether it be emails or news feed, ad feed, whatever it is, to set you in certain directions, and you go in that direction. So people that seek to harm the government could become a journalist, and not really engage in journalism, just engage in some sort of spying. So I don't have to send. If I'm a journalist, I don't have to send state secrets to Russia. I just put it in the newspaper, and Russia reads it, or China reads it, or both. So there's no way that could be allowed, because you essentially could spy for free and get very rich doing it. So there are limitations on freedom of journalism only because it's not immunity. It's simply, what are you actually doing? So it doesn't even require state secrets to be stolen where it's the F-16 landing gear or something like that. It could simply be something that's damaging to the U.S. government. That's a form of spying, a form of espionage. So again, you are protected from prosecution, but the person that stole it isn't. Now, to understand state secrecy, which you don't respect, many of you, and some of you do, because we're not in the era of Walter Cronkite. Walter Cronkite, they are not. They think they are. We have executive privilege. We have secrecy laws. So this is something that's established. It's not something out of the blue. Executive privilege is very, very high up in secrecy. So the fact is that the president doesn't even have to tell anybody anything about something. But you think you have a right to it? I doubt that. Now, again, if a government employee decided on their own to steal it, that's one thing. And in fact, you could probably prosecute a journalist by simply offering a deal to whoever stole the state secret. A lot of times we don't do that, but maybe if they'll testify against a journalist instructing them. Again, so WikiLeaks was over the line. I don't care what anybody says. And of course, current administration took sides with him. But again, it was political. It wasn't really anything based in law. Well, I believe Bradley Manning was corruptly influenced. And he obviously had, again, like I was saying about Mrs. Good. Mrs. Good obviously had something psychological going on in her head that wasn't, the average thing, right? And so did her wife. So I believe they were manipulated. And I believe Bradley Manning was manipulated even more so. That's probably more of a clear-cut case. Bradley Manning was just a pawn. And obviously he was experiencing some sort of psychological issue. Again, he was trying to figure out whether he was a woman, I guess. That's at least what he said. I don't know if that came later or not. Well, I think Bradley Manning, his psychology, he wanted to be in control of something that he didn't need to. So he had this control freak kind of thing going on. He wanted to be in control of things. So all of that gives him an ability to be in control. So he felt insecure probably about some things, and that's how he felt more secure about himself. Improved his self-esteem. Right. Again, I don't remember his new name, or I'd use it. I'm not disrespectful like that, but I don't remember the new name. Veronica. We'll call him Veronica. Change your name to Veronica there. Thank you, buddy. Actually, I think that may have been the woman's name. I'm not sure. It was the military woman. I can't remember her name. I never really had much time with her, but I tried to, metaphysically move her to something well, and I just couldn't do it because I think somebody was directly trying to destroy her. Could have been a witness to something. Could have been panicked. I mean, those are the transnational people. Santa Fe, New Mexico is part of the transnational network. It's more difficult in Albuquerque than it is Santa Fe. Or was. I don't know what it is now. Well, it was kind of like an outlying area that didn't have much federal policing. Might still be that way. So again, there has to be some accountability and some way to possibly find out who this person is. Well, if the person didn't commit the crime, then it wouldn't even be a question. Well, again, the word it doesn't say immunity. It says you have freedom to report, but it doesn't say you have immunity from crimes. Now, I read freedom to report allows certain immunities. But it's not absolute immunity. And it is an immunity. Again, I'm not saying that you have any immunity. It doesn't say that anywhere in any of the founding documents or statutes. But based upon freedom of the press, you have certain immunities. And again, you can release that information if you had nothing to do with the theft of the information. If they interview a government person and I say, well, the only reason I said it is because he asked, I mean, I don't know where that would go. But that could incriminate the journalist. Again, there's a lot of open-ended questions that we had. Again, I wasn't speaking directly with anybody. I just sent my stuff in and gave them case examples. I think CIA is where I sent it. I don't remember. I don't remember where I sent it. I think it was CIA. Well, we were trying to catch spies, and just this idea of journalism kept expanding because once upon a time Walter Cronkite wouldn't do that, right? Right. So he understood the secrecy of government had some sort of standing within journalism. So again, if you're not going to self-police, then they have to develop a system to police. And it's just too easy in this day and age of the internet. You could actually spy on the government all day long as a journalist and just send your stuff to China and Russia, and they could somehow take care of your career outside of RT. But they could do it within RT also. But I think RT, obviously, they wouldn't use RT, and Putin's in there because it obviously comes back to them. Well, the world I tried to develop was killed by these clowns that killed my life. Otherwise, Putin might have actually been pulled in and felt that he wanted to be in. And we might not even be there with Ukraine and everything else. And in fact, like the United States has nations that are closely aligned. Ukraine may have been closely aligned with Russia, and he could have done it peacefully and through just mutual respect. Right? And the fact that Russia could have provided protection. Again, the idea of what protection do they need? There should have been, like I said, a universal protection. The UN should have established some sort of NATO-like presence like it used to have, right? And that included Russia. That's what should have happened, by the turn of the century. Right? So again, we have these do-nothing slugs in government that are like the deep state. They don't know how to do stuff like. They don't care to do stuff like that. In fact, they like the turmoil because they make money off it. They play one side against the other. Right. So again, it's just too easy to spy without ever making physical contact by giving information to journalists, and the journalist puts it out there. And again, it doesn't have to be a state secret at the level of the F-16. It just be something that's damaging to government. Those state secrets are important also. But again, you can't be arrested for simply putting it out there. Now, I don't know if an FBI agent could offer it, a government agent could actually say you can't put it out there. I don't even know if they could do that. I mean, it's that the freedom of the press is that strong. But then again, when you're talking about state secrets and stolen state secrets, yeah, George Washington may have hung you all. I mean, if we really think about what's going on, they may have called you not a journalist. They may have called you a spy and then just hung you. There's no freedom of press at that level. It can't be. It just develops this. It just can't. And again, the Russians and the Chinese may have been this idea: freedom of the press, freedom of the press. They use it. It's like the whole Khrushchev plan is to use our freedoms against us. That's what I believe it was. Trying to prove that these freedoms were dangerous. At the same time, like kind of a self-promoting type of takeover of the United States. Well, when we had people with common sense, not so narco-infused, including mayors and governors, the system worked pretty good. Right? Because you could put dirt out about the government and be like, government's got to do what government's got to do. You know what I mean? Because everybody, gathered around the Cold War concept and all that. I mean, the same thing's happening now, actually. Well, you have like the hippies, so it's like the whole hippie thing all over again. But what the problem with the problem is, you should understand, is the only thing that really got them forward was that that the oil prices were high. Right. It wasn't like the Democrats took over any other way. Right. And Jimmy Carter was a pretty level-headed guy. I don't even know if he generally accepted today's Democratic Party. Again, the same idea they tried to put Trump out. Of course, Trump and Jimmy Carter are different people, but right, it's just like Biden in the 90s was a different person. Now, he felt like he tried to bring in the progressives to his thing, so he said, I was wrong. The crime bill was correct. We were saving black children with the crime bill. Black and Hispanic children. We really were. I was there. I seen the cases. Right. Who do you think was dying? It wasn't the white kids. The gun violence was the black on black crime. Black, Hispanic on Hispanic, black on Hispanic, Hispanic on black. That's what the crime was. That's what it was designed to do, is save those victims. You drive-by shooting, like kids sleeping in the apartments, either Hispanic or black, generally not white. Right. That's what it was. That's what the crime bill was about. Drive-by shootings. Now, as far as the length of the sentence, you could always adjust that later, right, if you find that you want it to be reduced. but at least you put the deterrence out there, and you get people off the street. They don't just keep going out on the street and shooting people. Again, we have a couple cases like that right now. Well, I don't think prison is the answer, but if you keep training people up to defy legitimate authorities such as ICE, then they're going to be out there doing that shit. Right. Again, you have to develop a community that doesn't need to be in prison, because again, they keep doing it. Again, that's where again the crime bill was, and I don't know if it had that provision in there, but it was right around the time period we started with the 3 strikes. I think that was the next one, actually. They went to crime bill. Crime bill didn't completely work, so we went to 3 strikes, you're out. Right. I say we because, like I said, I'm inside. I was asleep, but I'm an inside person, and that's what happened. I think that's probably what happened. I was on the internet and go, "That's that guy," or he's part of that thing, you know. Right. Well, because we needed to fix the world. Again, there are parents, there are people that won't speak out that agree with ICE, and they're immigrants, but they'll be destroyed in their community if they say anything. People lost mothers, fathers, kids, not just drug overdose, gun violence. Right. It's not your right to kill yourself with drugs. It just really isn't. And again, it costs the system so much. The system can justify almost anything. Right? Again, you probably, I don't know if they're doing that, because we brought it up before. Again, they caused us to forget it. They will it down. It's a form of psychological disorder, right? Yeah, they're doing that, right? They are doing that. I just remember that. New York, I think maybe he was doing that. But you have to be careful. You don't want people to abuse the commitment thing, right? Or the psychological hold. The deep state will do that and cause people to do that. But narcotics use at that level is a psychological disorder that requires commitment. And again, I don't think it requires commitment, maybe a psychological hold. And then if you get the person to agree to some sort of, hey, we need to detox you, and then we'll make some decisions in your life. Maybe they'll agree to it. But when you get them off the street, you get them into, a facility. If you have good people, they can talk to the person like a normal, like a mensch, in the Jewish religion. They call it a mensch. Talk to them like a mensch, and maybe they can get him or get her to agree to some sort of detox, and that's usually what it takes. I don't think detox is serious enough or long enough in a lot of the cases I see. I understand it's limited resources, but we need to build resources where we can really, again, why put somebody in prison for 6 months when you can put them in rehab? Again, rehab is a different program than going to prison. So again, so what you do, you have catchphrases and, things that stick in their mind, I'm just trying to come up. Well, it's kind of stupid, but it just gives you an idea. When in doubt, call Detox Clout. When in doubt, call Detox Clout. But that's the way it works. Something that sticks in their head that they can think about even when they're strung out or feeling they need drugs. Right. So we need like a real program, not just some bunch of bozos who steal the money. Right. No, I never needed to be known by anybody in the world as long as you let me live my life. I could have put that information out everywhere. Right. I mean, actually, when I got to Yogi Bhajan Sikhs, before you screwed it up, all of you, somebody came up to me and said, we need somebody to write a book about Jesus. We'd like to put a book out about Jesus. You might be the person. Because I was explaining to them and this is what I did when I go to those communities. I explained who Jesus really was. And I actually even have more information today, but who Jesus really was and what the work really meant. Right. Not some, bullshit. Because they knew the church was bullshit. I have people that, even though Srila Prabhupada accepted the church, they were so angry at the church for their evil work. that they just couldn't put their mind around it. Or put their mind around Christianity because of the evil of the church. Now, one of the guys had his brother commit suicide, and I think maybe they were, Christians were somehow involved, like making him feel like he was worthless or something. But I'm not sure. Again, the father was a famous musician from the early 70s as far as spiritual music. He probably had the most famous Hare Krishna song back then. I met him. He was actually, I think he came after I left. No, he came after I left, I think. But I knew his son. I kind of guardian angeled his son a little bit. Had the deep state not attacked me, I'd have probably fully done it. Had it all under control. I'd have probably went to India. I did tell him. At one point, I said, "Let's go to India. I'll pay for it. We'll get our money together. I got my income. It'll go even further in India. Let's go to India and just go travel, find the temples and all that." And, but he was stuck on a woman who was the father of his kid, but she was kind of playing him. Right? It was so bad, I was afraid that he would get in trouble from it. But it kind of worked its way around, and he realized a lot of things. She had remarried. What happens is they were having sex. She got pregnant. They were in India. They got in a fight. She went stateside, found another guy, had the baby, and then he was like, "Oh shit!" Right. And you want to get back with her, which is appropriate. But it just, wasn't going to happen. So let's go to India. I'll pay. We'll go see. We were going to see Kanana Swami. That was the first stop. I think he's from Germany, but he's a great musician. I can't remember the way his name is. I have to look. But I think it's Kanana. So it'd probably be good for both of us. I probably got married. He'd probably got married. No, I've always been attracted to you. I think it's because when I was a kid, and again, I didn't know about the inside, but now I see signs. There was a Indian one. I think one was. The other one's like owned by some Italian guy, I think. But the other side was there was Henry Avenue on each side. One was County Line Road, I think. One was York. Was it York and County Line? Yeah, I think it was County Line and York. So one side, County Line and Henry, was a 7-Eleven. On County Line, it shows you how big 7-Eleven was back then. And County Line and York, I mean, they were separated by a couple miles. Right. I guess even today they have them. But the one was owned by an Indian people, and I think I was in with them. I just didn't, a lot of people live inside. I didn't have it, or I would have been out with it. But I was very respectful of it. So I don't know, I'm always attracted to Indian women. Yeah, I'm attracted to all women, but probably women of color a little bit more. No, that's the problem. Is you have and again, everybody could be partially like this. I don't know how everybody inside is, but I have repressed memory from the inside. So I had a whole 40 years of life that I never really knew that was occurring around me, which probably would have been my openings and things like that. Right. Yeah, I think their name was Patel. Imagine that. The Patel takeover of the United States. Yeah, the new Jew, the new rich Jew, the Patels. Look, they can hear me in India. That one guy just came up, the little short guy, comedian. He got a lot of friends. That's how I got so big. Inside. No, later in life, I realized I had respect for things that nobody around me had. Where I grew up and all that. And that's pretty much why I killed it. So again, the journalists, what can I say? There is limitations, especially in the digital age. And again, you could always put it in a newspaper or a magazine back in the day, but it may have been done. And again, the question of whether they can prosecute the source is another question. But again, they have a right to identify what happened, right? And how it all worked. No, I don't know what the case is. I didn't even look at it. But I just, there's a general right to the government to investigate crime. Well, there's certain, if it's, see what you're saying is, but if they do this, it'll hurt your journalistic capability. But again, if a crime was committed, it's a crime. If the FBI investigates a bank, obviously the bank's going to have issues, possibly with people not opening accounts. Again, it's the nature of lawful behavior versus unlawful behavior. Why haven't the FBI done a search warrant in my house? Because I'm not engaged in unlawful behavior. Right? No matter what the deep state tries to allege. In fact, the deep state will lead me to investigate something and then say it's a crime. Or attempting to commit a crime or something like that. They even say there's like the psychological, I understand that they say there's a psychological thing. Everything I help the government with, I'm actually guilty, or I have mens rea in relation to a crime I committed or will commit or something like that. I mean, that's how insane they are with their psychology, because it's a fraud. It's an outright fraud. In fact, they're mad because I didn't succumb to what they were doing. That's why I brought it up about that CIA officer. And I was 100% honest. That did somebody set that CIA officer up and have him investigate China? Again, taking money is a little bit far. And the problem is, there's a 100% operation that they use while you're investigating something. They do shit to you, and then you don't get to your case for another 2-3 months. Sometimes weeks, but usually it's about 2-3 months till you get back to it. See? So again, that's a form of, if I was in government, and when I was in government, they were doing, it's a form of espionage, a form of sabotage, depending on, what the connection is to national defense. Yeah, look at your caseload, because they may have steered you away from one of them. So your coworker could have been paid, your boss could get paid to steer you away from an investigation. And again, it doesn't have to be a Russian. Now, at the end, there could be a Russian. Or the basic idea is Russians will put pieces of shit in power in the United States to ruin the United States. That's a sure thing. That's a sure thing of what happened. So they don't have to be currently paid by Russians. In fact, Khrushchev could have put these people in government, knew they were in government, and knew they would only promote pieces of shit. So Khrushchev put pieces of shit in charge in government. by money. Russia didn't have money, but they had enough. You have to understand something. A spy entity, no matter what nation it belongs to, has enough money to damage the United States and emplace people in places. A third world country can put people in the government of the United States because people in the government take money. Think of your local police department. How much would it actually take to make your chief a crook? Not that much. He doesn't have to tell the chief to be a crook, but the chief knows there's certain things he does and certain things he doesn't do, or she does or she doesn't do. Okay, just they're crooks. Right. No, it's not about me. It's about you and your crookdom, all of you. That's the scam of the deep state, that it's about their victim, when it's not. Every one of those people going to hell. I don't care. God will handle it. They're going to hell, man. But we go to church. Case in point. It's in the scriptures. I'm not saying anything. The problem is you all want to be the good people while being bad. Again, they will call evil good, good evil. Again, you all did it. So again, if I was an investigator investigating the scripture, investigating the current events, obviously it's all of you. Right. Right. Break your butt. No, I never knew Pennsylvania. I figured Pennsylvania had fallen, but it didn't. I mean, it's not perfect, but it didn't fall. No, you see that Josh is very guarded with what he says because he knows he doesn't want to cause people to commit crimes. That's the point. He believes in something, but he doesn't believe that it's worth a person committing a crime, which is normal, which is government. On which. See? Again, we can disagree about things, and we can agree that we disagree. Again, do you understand the difference between what's going on and then the agreement to disagree? The immigrants have to go. Maybe Josh feels for them, but that's fine. If you look at the reality of what the system is, what it's supposed to be, and what it does to have an uncontrolled system versus a controlled system, the immigrants benefit from a controlled system. Again, ICE doesn't have to charge you with a crime. First off, these people would have no guarantee of being here, and you act like they do. Second, they have GPS. They have followed these people. They have gone through phone logs where they hang out. They know who they are. They're not going to sit there for the next 5 years and build a case, or 2 years even, or even year, and then put them in prison for another 3 years. I mean, if we took all the people that were these foreigners that are deporting and actually charged them with a crime, it would break the budget of the United States. It has, quite honestly. Very expensive to incarcerate people. So we just send them home. So again, a certain percent, they've told you the number that they're arresting that are crooks, but the rest are potential crooks, which means they'd have to do a case, and they're not going to do a case, and because there's no reason to. In fact, if for some reason the Republican Party lost the presidency, these people would be out of prison and on the street. Right. And again, they say, well, Americans commit crimes. Right. They're our problem. Let those people that are going to salt bays while their people starve. Let them have the problem. Right. Once the immigration system returns to normal, and there's still immigrants here that aren't going to be deported, remember that. It isn't like everybody's being deported. I don't know. Again, we got the woman from Vietnam. I agree that that's kind of a crazy case. I wish she could stay with her husband. Kind of a weird case. But I don't know if she dissed the IRS for 20 years. Right. I don't know if she sells cannabis and what's the other thing? What do they infuse in the vape? Not cannabis. Cannabis and something else. The psilocybin infused vapes. I don't know if on the side in her business she's selling that. If ICE knows that, she's gone. They might charge her. They might send her out of here. It's just easier to send her out of here. Right. In fact, if you do the investigation, you may find some of these people are tied to the death of other people. Right. Again, the idea of just, keep the borders tight, put them out, and it's just easier that way and won't break the bank. And then we'll fix the immigrant problem, including for the immigrants. There are people in the immigrant community who don't want them living here. They saw the change. They saw the change in their city, in their communities, back in like 2012 when it started getting crazy. Right. So our corrections budgets due to foreign criminals is immense. But yet, we try to feed the children. All of a sudden, criminals steal the money, and nobody wants to do anything about it. Well, stay peaceful. Praise God. All that you do, praise God.